Alrighty, for your first Pixlr E cutout assignment, you're going to do pretty much what you did in your practice where you remove the background of an image, but you are going to take that cutout and drop it onto another image. So to get started here, what I'm going to do is open up a new image. I'm not going to do the first one that I practiced with last week. I'm going to go into my downloads and pull this picture of my dog. So you can pull a picture of literally anything that you want, whether it's from Google or your phone or whatever, and you are going to make a nice, neat, clean cutout. So once I do this, I have my image of my dog. This is Pepper. We are going to take Pepper and cut out the grass so that we can put him somewhere else. So before we start editing, what we have to do is go in and unlock that layer. That was done right over here. When I double clicked on it, that allows me to now go in and use my selection tools and use my background removal tools. So the first tool that I'm going to choose is the Marquee Select. So I'm going to go up to it. I'm going to leave it at the rectangle and not the ellipse tool or the oval tool. And I'm going to just drag a selection around. And once I drag it around, I want to let go, then hit delete or backspace on my keyboard. And now I see my checkerboard, which means that area is transparent. So I'm going to go in and do stuff like this where I'm just getting the most obvious areas away, and I'm probably going to leave the leash there. Oops, if you ever delete too much, just do Control Z on your keyboard, and that will hopefully bring back everything that you were doing. Yes, Control Z saved the day. Alrighty, now again, for this, you might have to have your layer selected and then come over and click remove. That is how it is working for me. So just doing this in little chunks or bits at a time is probably the easiest way. That way you can then zoom in and use whatever tools you want to precisely get rid of the rest. Okay, so just start by one part of your image. You can zoom in over here. I'm getting really close to Pepper's ears, so I want to use a good tool for that. I'm going to go up to my lasso. This tool is really hard to use because you have to have literally the steadiest hands, and it's really hard to do on a trackpad, and I'm really struggling here myself. I cut off part of Pepper's ear, don't want to do that. So I'm going to go up and deselect or Control D. That is your shortcut for it. And I'm going to try the next tool, which I happen to like. That is the Polygon Tool. That is a straight line tool, and when you click, then that will give you points. And as you are doing this, you want to stay as close to the object that you want to cut out as possible without actually dipping into it. Then join that selection and hit the delete key on your keyboard. Okay, in a picture like this where there is so much detail around the fur line of my dog, the Polygon straight line lasso tool probably is not the best tool to use. You may actually want to go in and get something like the eraser if you have an image like this, and customize your eraser brush. So as you can see here, these numbers get really blurry, get real fuzzy. That might actually be best to use when you have something like this over here and your edges kind of want to be pretty smooth. So what you can do is go in there and select your brush, change the size of it and everything, change the softness, and then zoom in as far as you can go. And then you can navigate around your picture by clicking on it, maybe zoom out a little bit more. And again, use this navigation over here to help you moving in, moving out. The farther you are zoomed in, probably the better. It's just going to be a little frustrating at times getting to the part of the picture that you would like to be at. So you might have to go there and then zoom in. Okay, so by doing this, I'm just kind of giving it a very feathered removal. That brush tip might actually be a little bit too big, so I'm going to go down there and down the size of it, maybe up the softness, go over and choose one of these pre-made ones. That one's way too big. We'll try something like this at 20. Not too bad. Now, when you're doing this, you would not want to erase an entire background like that because since it's so soft edged, it's going to miss some important pixels that you need to remove. So you'll probably want to do a marquee selection tool, for example, like down here and whatnot. And then only whenever you're real close do you want to use one of the other tools. Now, as you're doing this, you're probably going to need to take a step back, like kind of remove yourself from your edit and your image and zoom out just to see how things are looking. If at any point in time it's not letting you erase, that's because you have something else already selected over here. So you would have to go up to select, deselect, and then go in and do your removal. You might have to click on the layer, and it's still being very fussy, as you can see. Or actually, let's try the move tool. Okay, move tool, then go in, then erase. I'm not sure why it does that. Maybe you just have to select the object that you want to work with. So I'm not going to make you sit there and watch me do this. It's going to take a lot of time, as it will with your cutouts. But what I'm going to do is skip ahead in this video. And as I skip ahead, then you will see how to move this clean cutout and put it onto another background to turn in for a grade. So the more you are zoomed in, the more detail you get on your object. You can zoom out from time to time just to make sure you didn't take too much off of your object than what you wanted to take off. But I'm not going to make you sit there and watch me do this. What I'm going to do is fast forward in this video so you can see my progress minutes later, or however long it's going to take. And then I will show you how to drop this image of Pepper, my dog, onto another background. Okay, so once you have your image cut out, you want to take this object and put it on something else. So my idea here is I'm going to take Pepper and I'm going to put him in Central Park, which is in New York City. Again, just a random idea. So I'm going to type in Central Park. I'm going to find a good picture where it looks like the placement would actually seem realistic. So obviously I'm not going to stick him up here in the sky in an aerial view or have him floating on the pond, but I'm going to find a nice view from the city. Maybe something like this, or a nice fall scene. And you also want to do what you can to match the colorization as well, which I'll show you how to do. So what you want to do is save this image. So I'm going to right click, save image as. I'm going to go ahead and type it centralpark.jpg or .jpg. And then I'm going to head back over to PIXLR and then add a new layer. And that layer is going to be an image. So add image as layer. So I'm going to pull in that Central Park picture. Now, the thing is, this Central Park picture happens to be a lot lower of a resolution or screen size than the picture of Pepper. And then it also seems to be on top of Pepper. So what we have to do is reorder those layers over here. And then I'm going to take Pepper and make him a bit smaller so it's more realistic. And then I'm going to go up to my Central Park picture and make that larger. Now, something else that I might need to do is resize this canvas because I have extra checkerboards here. So I'm going to go up to, I believe, image for that, canvas size, and then adjust that. So I'm going to bring the height down to maybe, I'm just going to guess here, like, I don't know, 1100. And then when I do that, it kind of cuts away my picture, but I want to resize my picture so that it pretty much fills up the whole canvas. Then I'm going to click on this layer of Pepper, which I can rename that layer, by the way. If I go in and double click, I can name that Pepper so I know what I'm working with. And then I'm going to resize him and place him in a spot that looks pretty realistic. So if I shrink him a good bit, you really cannot tell that that image has been cut out unless you really look closely at it, because it's scaled down a lot smaller. The edges are pretty smooth and everything in comparison to the large background. Now, again, you might want to colorize things, depending on the way that the sunlight was looking. So you can go ahead and select both objects and do image adjustments, where you can change things like the temperature and tint, the brightness and contrast, the hue and saturation, and that just helps in the overall tone of your picture. So I wouldn't want to do something like that, but maybe make him look like he's a little bit more in the like fall-like scene here. And likewise, I can apply an effect to the Central Park layer as well by going to adjustment and going to temperature and play around with that as well. So it's looking a lot more realistic. So what you want to turn in for this is a PNG of your finished file. So you would want to do File and then Export as PNG, or File Save, where you choose to save it as a PNG. Now, if you save it as a PXZ, that keeps your layers. So if you want to come back and do some editing to this later, if you open up the PXZ file, that will allow you to do some edit work and rearrangement. But as you guys know, once you flatten it as a PNG and download it, that is now one image, and it looks like something that was actually taken, like a real photograph. I mean, might not be the best over here, but again, it's pretty good experience and for you guys to cut out some images and drop them onto others. Now you want to turn in a before and you want to turn in an after. So this would be the after. And for the before photo, I could include either a picture of just Central Park or a picture of just Pepper, as long as I have either or along with the combined images.